Thank you for joining us today on NetFile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. We have been told that Nigeria's population is growing faster than development can cater to, faster than resources to maintain it, and faster than the best attempt at any type of population control. Explosive population growth affects our ability as a country to plan for adequate resources to meet the needs of every Nigerian. But one question that proves to be a challenge is how many Nigerians there are. That's our focus today on the program. Just stay with us.
Currently, the world's population continues to grow, though more slowly than in recent past. 10 years ago, world population was growing by 1.24% per year. Today, it is growing by 1.18% per year, or approximately an additional 83 million people annually. The world population is projected to increase by more than 1 billion people within the next 15 years, reaching 8.5 billion in 2030, and to increase further to 9.7 billion in 2050 and 11.2 billion by 2100. More than half of global population growth between now and 2050 is expected to occur in Africa. Africa has the highest rate of population growth among major areas, growing at a pace of 2.55% annually between 2010 and 2015. Consequently, of the additional 2.4 billion people projected to be added to the global population between 2015 and 2050, 1.3 billion will be added in Africa. Among the 10 largest countries in the world, one is in Africa, and that is Nigeria. The United Nations has projected that by 2100, there will be 4 billion people in Africa, 1 billion of whom will live in Nigeria. However, the accurate figure for the country's population has not been really known. At the moment, the National Population Commission, the body with the statutory powers to collect, analyze, and disseminate demographic data in the country, says there are currently 182 million Nigerians, while the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs estimates that the figure is over 190 million. And many population experts have criticized this state of affairs, and their reason is not far-fetched. Every country needs basic information on its residents for purposes of planning, development, and improvement of the quality of life of its people. This cannot be achieved without a reliable, up-to-date, accurate, and detailed information on the state of the society in that country. This, indeed, is the essence of periodic enumeration done by countries over a period, say every 5 or 10 years. The idea is to generate information or data on age, gender, country of origin, year of immigration, marital status, housing conditions, marriage, number of children, education, employment, traveling habit, and so on for the purposes of planning. Indeed, governments can only be planning blind in the absence of such accurate statistics. The fundamental purpose of the census is to provide the facts essential to government for policy making, planning, and administration. The characteristics of the population drive the decision-making that facilitates the development of socio-economic policies that will enhance the welfare of the population. Additionally, the population census provides important data for the analysis and appraisal of the changing patterns of rural-urban movement and concentration, the development of urbanized areas, geographical distribution of the population according to such variables as occupation and education, as well as the social-economic characteristics of the population and the labor force. These variables also provide the basis of questions of scientific interest that are of importance both to pure research and for solving practical problems of industrial and commercial growth and management. The findings of the census are also critical in the decision-making processes of the private sector. Population size and characteristics influence the location of businesses and services that satisfy the needs of the target population. Population censuses also constitute the principal source of records for use as a sampling frame for the household surveys during the years between censuses. The United Nations, emphasizing the importance of censuses, recommends that countries should conduct a census every 10 years. This period allows for the capture of changes in structure and movement of population. The last time a census was conducted in Nigeria was in 2006. Despite its importance, Nigeria's population figures have always been controversial and therefore lacking in general acceptability. From a population of about 45.2 million in 1960, the country's population has grown to about 182 million, according to the latest census figures by the National Population Commission. Even the 2006 figure was roundly condemned by a state like Lagos that protested the 9.1 million population figure allocated to it during the exercise. The National Census Tribunal, which sat in Abuja in June 2013, vindicated the state by nullifying the 2006 census figures in 14 of the 20 local government areas. Historians have said it is not difficult to understand why census figures remain controversial. They claim the figures are used more for political gains, but many fail to focus on the social and economic gains for the entire population. After two postponements, the national census may now take place in 2018. However, despite the National Population Commission's efforts, the conduct of the national census may not hold without a proclamation by the president.
Proclamation will unlock so many doors. Usually all over the world, particularly in our own part of the world, the developing part of the world, census is not an internal thing. So, by that I mean it is not left entirely to the government of that country. Outside donors play very, very important role. So, but this proclamation we're talking about is the key to reaching those people. So, as soon as that proclamation is secured, I can tell you outside donor agencies will indicate interest and tell us what they'll be able to do. Now, that brings me to the issue of how much would the census cost. Of course, the issue of the cost of the census is in the public domain. We have never stopped telling the world that because of the nature of technology we intend to deploy for the census, it is going to cost about 200 and something billion naira. But the good thing is, one, I have said it, this money is not going to come entirely from Nigeria. In other words, it's not government to cough out this money all the time.
On its part, the National Population Commission has conducted 3 phases of enumeration area demarcation. The third phase was between the 22nd of February and the 10th of March. The project aimed at splitting different local government areas into small units in preparation for the next census exercise. The enumeration area demarcation forms the foundation on which the entire census architecture stands.
Also, in this post-census period, the products of EAD will be required for effective dissemination of the census data, particularly at the small area level. The EAD, therefore, is the vehicle that drives the census process in the pre-census, actual census, and post-census periods. Because we recognize this fact, the Commission has adopted a very meticulous and gradual approach to the 2018 Census EAD, which allows for practical experimentation of the methods and necessary adjustment in implementation and flexibility.
In the first 2 phases, the Commission demarcated 37 local government areas in all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. After the third phase, the Commission would have successfully demarcated 2 local government areas in each state of the Federation, that is 74 in total. And the remaining 700 local government areas will be covered under the subsequent phases of the enumeration area demarcation.
Data is life. Data is the priority of all priorities.
To the officials of the Commission, the significance of the enumeration area demarcation exercise goes beyond the conduct of the 2018 census, as they plan to establish and maintain a national framework with the mandate of the Commission under Section 24 of the 3rd section of the 1999 Constitution.
What we mean by enumeration area demarcation is we demarcate, that is, divide into very small portions a local government, a community, and we ensure that a portion is not more than 400 to 500 people of a certain number of households. The essence of this is, one, when it's time for census, which we're open to do in the nearest future, it will be easier for enumerators to count people and record their demographic qualities. That's number one. Number two is so that governments can use this as a basis for policy making, for planning, because you know that when a well-disaggregated data at enumeration level is an indispensable prerequisite for services in the of education, provision of education, for provision of education, educational facilities, of health, transportation, roads, and all that.
For the purpose, the Commission deployed technology in carrying out the current enumeration area demarcation. The methodology for the census is designed to achieve full geographic information system compliance. The Commission says a high-resolution satellite imagery are being used to ensure that no area is left undemarcated and no place duplicated. Personal digital assistance devices are also being used in capturing spatial data and estimate enumerated areas during the demarcation.
This is satellite imagery. On this satellite imagery, we are on Ilaye Road. This is Ilaye Road. This is Olatunji Street, which is opposite this street now. All the buildings on this street, you can see, they are clearly shown here. Just like a picture from the sky of all the structures, whether generator house, whether it's a toilet, whether it's a gate master house, or whether it's a container, everything is shown here. Every freestanding structure. We have all our forms are loaded here. Instead of going with paper forms, all the forms are already loaded here. We ask questions about the type of buildings, the use of building, then the household number, the total number of persons inside a building. Everything is there. When we now get to the office, we now download this to the main database for onward transmission to our headquarters in Abuja. And which means no building will be left out after this exercise.
Before you do any census, you must have the knowledge of every freestanding structure anywhere. Yeah, and that is exactly what they're doing. If we were to be in a country where we have a very good land management system, we can even still have a hierarchy of building properties or the cadastre, but we don't have that. So let's start with this building footprint first of all, so that we can say we can estimate the number of people even there. And this does not even give room for planning alone. You can revalidate anytime. So the ones we were doing before, they were just aggregates and just figures in the virtual domain without anything that you can refer to. And if you can't refer to, what's the basis of census? So any other developed nation in the world will do it to this level. And if they are following this best practice, then they should be commended. But I hope they should follow through. And I'm not sure there should be any census without a thorough evaluation and recording and mapping of all these units. Because that's where frauds can come in. And that's why people are not sincere. But if you have all these things, you can query a house if you see a number, because all the numbers will be domiciled. Although we realize the kind of confidentiality of some of the details, but the aggregates will come out, but for validation, you can still review all those things.
The 2018 population and housing census will be biometric based and will capture the facial impression and fingerprints of persons during the census period.